Hey, it's me, and welcome to Trump Mafia, the Truth Syndicate. Now, of course, we know that Barack Obama was a puppet president, and other people were really running the presidency, and he was a buffoon. He didn't know anything about anything, but he knew how to do the teleprompter speeches and, to do the small talk with the celebrities, and he wasn't a real president in many ways, even though he's responsible for the mess he created in the 8 years that he was there. And he was there because he looks black. And that's really the only reason, because the guy was a complete hack. And everything about him was a fable and hype. And his bio is full of lies, and he was in way over his head. So in the end, he just turned out to be a puppet, and other people ran the presidency, and a lot of damage was done to our nation because of this. And is it really worth it that black people feel, hey, there was a black president? Because black America didn't benefit at all. He did nothing for black Americans, and there's a feel-good factor to say, hey, we had a black president. Does it really put money in your pocket? Does it help the nation? No, it does not. As with many things, liberals always think about emotions, and it's very short-term, and it doesn't deliver results. Not for black Americans, not for any Americans, and not for our nation. Barack Obama was a black plague. He was not even a real black American guy. He was half white, and the black half wasn't even black American. It was African. So his upbringing was also not really patriotic in any way or American in any way. The guy was kind of a lab experiment or a hybrid, if you will. So he doesn't have any connection to America except through Michael Obama. But even Michael Obama hates the USA. So really, if you look at his presidency, the policies were all a disaster, and it wasn't even his idea, but he needs to be held accountable, and he's responsible. But as a puppet, he also performed badly, and he embarrassed our nation. In fact, his embarrassing behavior was low class, uneducated, un-American, and it really made people ridicule the USA that we would have a president like that. So at first, world leaders were expecting a dynamic young guy, but they all quickly found out that he was a low-class buffoon, and then all the snubbing started, from Queen Elizabeth to the Vietnamese to the Chinese. Almost everywhere he went, he was snubbed, because they realized he's not only a liar, but he's a puppet. They realized every time they could only talk to Valerie Jarrett and other people, and they realized that they were running the presidency, and Barack Obama never knew anything, and he was always there grinning with his toothy smile, and he didn't know anything. Now when it comes to visits overseas, he had many embarrassing moments. It's hard to make a top 5 or a top 10 or a top 20. I mean, just so many times this guy acted like an uneducated buffoon, like who just crawled out of a gutter, and he's there meeting queens and, participating in ceremonies. But I will notice that some of these media people refuse to expose the fact that he really was a buffoon, and perhaps only years later will we find out more documentary evidence that yes, in fact, everybody knew, even on the left, that Barack Obama was a complete clown. Now, there was a funeral memorial service for Nelson Mandela, a historic person and famous the world round. So Barack Obama goes over there, and he starts taking selfies at a memorial service, goofing around, grinning, laughing, giggling like a schoolgirl. Then he's there talking to some prime minister, some woman, and Michelle Obama's giving the stink face, and again, goofing around at a funeral memorial service. And you're thinking, wow, how embarrassing is that? It's so embarrassing. Now you have him meeting Raúl Castro, a dictator, and he's there smiling, grinning, and doing a Mexican wave at a baseball game. Then Raúl puts up his arm and you see this limp wrist of Barack Obama. I mean, what is this? He's the commander-in-chief of the USA Armed Forces, don't you know? It is so deeply embarrassing. And then, of course, you have that episode with the Queen of England. Okay, and you just think about the history and, you know, our relationship with Great Britain and England especially. And just think about it, the kings and queens of England of the past. And look what he does. I mean, you just cannot make it up. So I'll just play the clip. And it's so cringeworthy how much of a buffoon that this guy really is. Other people visiting the Queen, they would study up on what's the protocol and what to do, what not to do, but this buffoon just waltzes in there and embarrasses our nation and embarrasses himself. I mean, just look at this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand with me and raise your glasses as I propose a toast. To Her Majesty the Queen, to the vitality of the special relationship between our peoples, and, in the words of Shakespeare, to this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England, to the Queen.
Okay, then you have this chewing gum, right? So he's there at the G20 chewing gum. Okay, that's one thing. It's low class. He just looks like some guy from the ghetto, what can I say? But in India, it was some holy ceremony, and these people take it very seriously, and he's there chewing gum, even takes out the gum, puts it back in. I mean, where does this guy come from? And then you have that episode where he's crying and Michelle Obama's giving the stink face again. And how about Barack Obama picking his nose on live TV, right? And putting the booger behind his ear or on the side of his head or somewhere. I mean, you would think if that's really your thing, you would want to throw it away, not save it for later or whatever this idiot buffoon is doing. But he's not just even picking his nose with like one finger. I mean, he puts a thumb and an index finger into a nostril, and I've never seen human beings do that. I've seen a gorilla do that on a YouTube video. Think about it. You put your thumb and your index finger into one nostril. Who does that? Only apes do that. I've never seen any human being do that before. And I guess it's an Indonesian thing or a Kenyan thing. And I can't say it's an American thing at all. But just think of it. The President of the United States on live TV. And this guy doesn't even care. It means he grew up eating boogers, farting, burping. I mean, this guy is completely without any class at all. I mean, he's really just almost like a primate. And then I could list all his gaffes, like, you know, saying there's 59 states, or they speak Austrian in Austria, or mixing up islands around the world, and just really showing that he doesn't have any education. I mean, the whole thing about him going to Harvard or Columbia, I mean, it's all just on paper. The guy didn't receive any type of an education. The guy's a dummy, and he obviously doesn't know anything about the world. But okay, it's gonna be a clip that's 1 hour long. But instead I'm gonna give you some of the stuttering, because we're talking about a guy that without a teleprompter cannot even formulate a simple sentence in his mind and then say it. He needs a teleprompter, he needs to read it, because if left to his own devices, as it were, and having to formulate words together into a sentence and say it, it is really difficult for this buffoon. Again, he's not like a human being, right? You would think that he'd be smart enough to just talk, but he can't. And you could say, okay, maybe he took too many drugs. And I know that he needed cocaine in 2008 and 2012 to go out and campaign and sound halfway excitable and, you know, being able to talk faster. It's almost like his use of cocaine was to speed up. And if you look at the normal Obama, it's like he's gonna die. Now, okay, that's fine, but it's a stuttering that really shows that there's something wrong in his brain. Like, you have this sequence in your brain that goes on. You go from A to B to C to D. But with Obama, it's like from A to B, and then to get to C, there's something wrong. Like there's a missing brain cell. And it's like, and then finally, yeah, it gets to C, D, E, right? And it's so embarrassing, and really, this cannot be an intelligent person. I'm sorry to say that.
Correct. Well, no, I mean, it becomes sort of a, I mean, it's an independent study of the safety and you know, how the plant is operating.
More illness like asthma, they end up taking up a hospital bed. It costs, you gave them treatment early, and they got some treatment and a breathalyzer, or an inhalator, not a breathalyzer. I haven't had much sleep in the last 48 hours.
I guess, hold on a second, everybody. I want everybody to be respectful. That's why we're having I don't think that. And the NRC is a moribund.
If we fall for, you know, a bunch of okey doke, just because it sounds.
But that was true for the.
Let's get back to the tax the rich.
I'm not so worried about the FCC. You know, so point number. No, I understand, but which is fine. Well, wait, hold on a second. Remember, but let me, you know, if this is being, well, you know, I think that whether you're looking at it, you know, is.
What they'll say is, well, it costs too much money. But you know what? It would cost about the same as what we would spend over the course of 10 years. It would cost what it would cost us. All right. Okay. We're going to. It would cost us about the same as it would cost for about
Hold on one second. I can't hear myself. But I'm glad you're fired up, though.
He's a buffoon, and we've been had. This guy was a complete dummy. Even people on the left know that. Even people in the media know it. That's why they exaggerate. He's the smartest guy in any room. But it's really because they're lifting this guy up. It's like they're championing like a little retard. Like a little retarded Oliver Twist, and giving him a home and giving him some porridge, or in this case affirmative action compliments. It's very similar to how all these magazines were saying Michelle Obama is beautiful, she's gorgeous, and I'm like, what? She looks like a Sasquatch. She's the ugliest black woman in the USA. And so, yeah, I call it affirmative action compliments. But everything about Obama has been affirmative action resume, affirmative action hype about his intelligence and his experience level, and his books are completely fake. It's fiction. And so is his whole bio. And I cannot even believe that Harvard would own up to having this guy as a graduate. But okay, the media constructed this whole thing, and they really feel like they can make and break people, just like they now believe that they can still break Trump, even though 2016 they tried everything they could, and they could not. I mean, at some point they have to learn that if they don't make a guy like Obama, then they cannot break the guy. So Obama, he's at the mercy of the media and his billionaire puppets. And if they all decide tomorrow Obama's worthless, he'll be homeless or something like that. But Trump is not affected by that. Trump is Trump. He was not made by the media or any billionaires. He doesn't owe anyone. So they can also not break him. But I will tell you one thing. We're so lucky to have a real American president now. Somebody who can talk to kings and queens, because he himself is like a god, emperor, king. And Melania Trump is classy and sophisticated and speaks languages, unlike Michelle Obama, who's a complete numbnuts. But President Trump really knows how to deal with people all over the world. And it's really these idiotic minions in the media that are uneducated, they have no class, they sound like little children, they're conniving and silly. And they're not mature, they're immature people. And the same can be said about the Obamas and almost all of the left wing. So really, if you look back at the Black Plague, the illegal occupant of the White House, Barack Hussein Obama, to summarize it, look, he was a dumbass with no class and a failure president.
If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke, just because it sounds funny.